Um, First off, just wanted to thank you all for joining in. McCloskey is a very exciting time for us. And I've seen a lot of familiar faces on the Zoom already, so very excited that some of you guys are coming back. I know my name is showing up as Patty, but I am Mackenzie Young. I am the student team event coordinator over at the Idea Center. Patty unfortunately could not make it today, but we are just using her account. So bear with us on that. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is the kind of an overview of what the competition is going to look like, with a very hard emphasis on that round one deadline that is coming up here in just a month. So McCloskey, just a brief overview. This is an opportunity for you guys to submit your ventures, any small businesses that you guys have. It will start in with round one. So the deadline for that is October 24th is the most upcoming deadline there. We'll do judging around the November timeframe, and we'll decide who moves into round two at the end of November. With students having Christmas break and all that, we want you guys to focus on the holidays. So there's a couple of months that we wait between round one and round two. So round one is due towards the end of February, and then judging will take place in March. We'll announce the semifinalists in March. If you've been with us before, there are some changes. We are now only accepting 20 semifinalists. In previous years, we've done 30. Those will happen in April. That same day of semifinals, we actually announce who the top 5 teams are. And then they will move on to the finals the next day and compete for that $50,000 grand prize.
Seminar today. And I can't log on with my phone. Can't hear her either. She's doing it, but it's really crappy on my part.
All right, so let's go on here. If you guys are unmuted right now, I just ask that you guys mute so none of the information gets missed here. So with round one, we'll kind of go over that first. The deliverables for that, again, these are due on October 24th. This is a 10-slide presentation deck as well as a 3-minute video pitch. So let's go into that real quick. The very first step with submitting your application is by creating an account on Submittable. This is the platform that we use to kind of view those submissions, make sure we can assign judges. So all your information regarding your application will be through there, and we use that platform throughout the competition. So as we do round one and round two, that's what you guys will be using. Because this is more of an overview of the competition and the deliverables, we'll go over the round one requirements, but a sample pitch deck of kind of what we are looking for with round one is available on our website. So you guys can take a look at that, kind of mirror that when you're thinking about your pitch decks. So with round one, this is a very kind of basic concept, very easy to fill out and kind of create that pitch deck. So with that, we want to see a little bit of what your venture name is. Who are you? What does this product serve? If you have a catchphrase, we'd love to hear that as well. So we want to see that, as well as who your team is. Typically with round one, it is completely okay to start out with one person. I've seen people go through the entire competition with one person, but as it gets into kind of semis and finals, the judges want to see that you have a cohesive team. You have someone who knows business, someone who knows marketing, graphic design, data analytics, different things like that. So they want to see that. The judges want to know what the problem is. They want to know what the is that you guys are trying to solve.
I had a
Um,
mock interview.
with that, they also want to know what your
Yes.
solution is. The solution is essentially the venture that you guys will be presenting. One thing we also want to see is who is your competition. There are a lot of teams that actually submit that'll say, we're the first one in this market. Our judges take that as a red flag. Even if it's not a direct competition, there is going to be somebody out there who has tried to do the same thing you are proposing. With that, we also want to see what your business model is. If you have that already, kind of how are you going to make money? What is your plan for that? Don't necessarily have to have made money yet, but we want to make sure that you have a plan for that in place. If you are planning to do any marketing or sales, we want to know that as well. How do you plan to market your product? How do you plan to get the word out there about what you are looking to sell? If you have any traction already, judges love to see that. But if not, we want to see what the milestones are that you want to hit. What, thinking about the next couple of months, especially as if you're just getting started and are looking to advance to round 2, what do you hope to achieve in that time frame between round 1 and round 2? Or if you even have like a broader, 3-year projection of kind of where you want to be. Again, we'd love to know that as well. You are being judged on all of the criteria that is listed here, and typically in order as well. We also want to see what your force for good is. Notre Dame is, kind of branded with this force for good. So how is your venture making the world a better place? How are you helping people? What is your social impact? So we want to take a deeper dive into that, make sure we are embodying the Notre Dame mission and vision in with your ventures. And especially with round 1, we want to know what your challenges are. Is there anything that you've already identified that, hey, I already know that I have, the science and the data side of this, but sorry, Lindsay, can you leave? Thank you. I know the marketing and kind of the design of this, but I already know that I'm going to need somebody with data analytics. I already know that I need somebody who knows how to create a business plan. Or some of your challenges could be resources. If you already know that you're trying to build a prototype and don't necessarily have that resource to go in and start building something, we want to know that as well. Our judges, they are required to give you feedback on all of these items. So one thing is that they want, especially on that challenges, if you identify a challenge and a judge says, hey, I know a great resource, that's a great way that we can connect you guys. They are simply giving back to the Notre Dame community. They want to make sure that you have the resources available. They want to make sure that you come into McCloskey with the potential to create this amazing business and launch it eventually as well. So with round 1, after that, that is simply the pitch deck. But we also require you guys to do a video submission supplementing your deck as well. So this is 3 minutes in length. It should be no longer than 3 minutes. Usually a couple of seconds over is okay. But typically if it goes, 3 minutes and 10 seconds, something like that, we do unfortunately have to flag that and make sure that you guys are able to redo it just to fit those time requirements. We ask you guys to upload it to YouTube. YouTube is the easiest way to work on this and kind of make sure that it's public so that our judges can view it. We sometimes have issues with files being too large and not downloading with them. So YouTube is the best option. So with the video submission for round 1, we really want you to introduce yourself and introduce us to your venture as well. What is the problem that you're trying to solve? You should articulate what that venture is and kind of how it is the solution to your problem. Let us know how this could be a thriving business in the near future. We want you guys to utilize this as kind of a way to attract investors and get our judges invested into your products. Again, we want to know that social impact and the Notre Dame force for good in there as well. A lot of our judges get really excited about how the force for good is kind of implemented in those businesses. The main criteria with this video submission, though, is that we do ask that you be present in the video. So this could be, you're sitting in your dorm room and kind of explaining the presentation. If you already kind of have a MVP or a product that you can show to them, we want to note that as well. We just ask that this is not a promotional ad. We don't want to see a 3-minute commercial, essentially. And we don't want to see you just explaining your slide deck. We want to know a little bit more about who you are, why you're passionate about this venture, and kind of what do you bring to the table. We also want to see you in there. This shouldn't be your pitch deck with a voiceover with it. We want to see you, your smiling faces, kind of showing off what your venture is and how you plan to use it. So again, that is round 1. So those applications are due on October 24th. We will have judging in November, and then towards the end of November, we'll make those decisions of who moves on to round 2. Round 2, just to get you guys a little overview of that, very similar to round 1. We just want to see a little bit more work involved with that. So once again, there is who are you, what is your venture, the problem, solution. You see a lot of these from round 1, competition, your business model, sales, traction. One thing that gets added is your ask and use of funds. So there is a $50,000 grand prize with this, but there are other prizes along the way. So right now we are at almost $300,000 in different types of cash prizes, investment opportunities where you can actually go to investors and pitch your ideas and receive funding that way. And we also have some in-kind services. So there are some tax companies that want to make sure that you guys are filing LLCs and getting your taxes right. There are startup camps that that is one of the prizes that we can actually enroll you guys in, spend some time out in the Valley and work on this over the summer. So we kind of want to see if you were to win any of those prizes, kind of what that would mean for you. What do you plan to do with said money or said opportunities to kind of advance your venture? Again, we want to know what your social impact and force for good is. And this is where we want to see those 3-year projections. We want you to think bold and we want you to think ahead. So we want to see, best case scenario within the next 3 years, where do you plan to be? And with round 2, this is not something that is required in round 1, but we do want to see additional appendices slides. So if you have some research or some numbers to kind of help back you up in either the use of funds, marketing, those 3-year projections, our judges want to look at that as well. So with round 2, there is another video submission, but this one is 6 minutes in length. So again, we ask that you upload this to YouTube. Much like round 1, we want you to introduce yourself, the problem, the solution, act like you are talking to investors. This is the time for you to practice that pitch and practice that pitch deck where you're actually saying, hey, here's the information that was in my deck. Here's a better explanation of how we plan to use funds, how we plan to implement our tractions, what milestones we want to hit. This is a great time to kind of practice that pitch. And much like round 1, you must be present in the video presentation. I have seen teams in the past who kind of do like what we're doing now. They share that screen and kind of have their photo up in the corner. That does count. But if there's a way for you to kind of like have your slide projected in the back and kind of practice pitching that way, that's great too. We just ask that it's not a commercial. You're practicing your pitch with the deck and making sure that it's not a voiceover. We want to see you guys again, making sure that you are pitching that video to us. So that will happen. Round 2 applications will close in February. Between round 1 and round 2, you guys actually have the opportunity to apply for a mentor. So this is a great opportunity as well. You're working with other Notre Dame alumni, industry leaders, and friends of the Idea Center who really, again, want to help you guys out in any way that they can. So they want to help lead you to, okay, you have a great business in place. Have we thought of an advisory board? Are there things that they can help you out with? Really just going through that process with you guys to, again, help scale your venture and get advice and feedback from, again, industry leaders, people who understand the market that you're trying to launch into. And we'll go over this again in a second. But for any of our community and alumni teams that do make it to round 2, we do ask that at that point, you have a current Notre Dame student on your team. That is a requirement in order to move past round 2. And we'll go over in a bit kind of one of those events that help us match you guys with Notre Dame students who are excited about McCloskey and excited about working with startups. They want to gain experience while they're here at Notre Dame and kind of utilize their skill sets and things that they're passionate about to help you guys move forward as well. So after round 2, again, that closes in February, and announcements on our semifinalists will come in mid-March. So we have about a month break between then for our McCloskey semifinals. So again, this year, this is brand new. We are taking the top 20 teams. This is a cut from the top 30 we've taken in the past. And you guys will be able to pitch live to a panel of judges. So this happens from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We have 4 sections of teams that will go and pitch. So there's a couple of hours. This is a 6-minute pitch with questions that come after each sprint. So we'll have about 5 teams do their 6-minute pitch. After that, teams will go into the back of the room, and then our panel of judges actually go to you guys with their questions before kind of making their scores. One requirement is you must plan to pitch in person. If you are an alumni or a student who may be working or studying out of the South Bend area, we do ask that you make travel arrangements to pitch in person. Just because of how things work, we are unable to offer any virtual pitches. So just keep that in mind, especially as we move through the competition. Again, that 6-minute pitch with a Q&A after each sprint. If you are one of those community or alumni teams, your current Notre Dame student who is working with you must be available to pitch during your assigned time and day. Patty and I go through and make assignments based on some of their availability. We ask, if your student has classes in the morning or in the afternoon. We don't look for specific times. If you have a preferred slot, we just like to know that. After everybody has pitched, we go into judges' deliberation where they're actually there working to figure out those top 5 teams. We have you guys leave the room for a couple of hours, and then we have every team come back at 5 p.m., and that's where we announce those top 5 finalists. Right after semifinals, there is a judges reception where we go up to the 3rd floor of Innovation Park. We open up our patio and our boardroom for you guys with appetizers and some drinks. A great way to network with your fellow competition, as well as some of the judges that are up there as well. Get more feedback from them. Build your network. Really, it is a great opportunity. It's fun every year. I've never had somebody come away saying that they regretted going. So again, just a great opportunity to kind of unwind after a full day of pitching in semifinals. So the very next day, you'll start your day at 10 a.m. with our McCloskey Startup Showcase. This will happen on April 26th. That is that Friday from 10 to noon. If you are a semifinalist or finalist team, you are required to attend in order to be eligible for those prizes. If you made it through to round 2 but did not make it to semifinals, you're highly encouraged to attend. Again, a fun event. You set up a booth for you guys to show off your venture. If you have physical products, it's a great way to kind of show off how those work, as well as apps as well. There are actually cash prizes that get handed out with this. So around the last hour, we actually open up voting, and all of the attendees that are kind of going around to each booth are able to say, hey, this venture had one of the best presentations. So we actually pick the top 2 teams, and they will, based on those votes, they are able to win cash prizes at the finals. So it's first place is $1,000, and then second place is $500. So again, a great way if you have a great pitch and a great booth, it'll just bring people towards voting for you. And again, to kind of bribe people, we ask that you can bring candy, you can bring flyers, anything that really promotes your product. If you have that prototype in place, really, this is just a fun way to kind of showcase all the hard work that you guys have put into these ventures throughout the competition. Right after that, we will have our finals event. So this will take place from 1:30 to 4 p.m. the same day. So you get a little bit of a break and then right back at it. This is where our top 5 teams will actually do the same pitch. So it's a 6-minute pitch to a live panel of judges. And then right after your pitch is that 10-minute Q&A session. So you're able to interact with those judges right there on the spot. Again, you must plan to pitch in person. No virtual options will be available. And if you are in a community or alumni team, your Notre Dame student must be able to pitch this day as well. It's kind of that afternoon time frame, but we try to do it on a Friday where students shouldn't have as many classes. And then with the finals, once again, we just ask that all semifinalists and finalist teams be there in attendance because you are eligible for prizes. So we don't want to yell out a name who won a prize and nobody be there to accept that award. So we do ask that you guys kind of make that a full day event. So once again, especially as we look through these videos and those presentation decks, especially looking at round 1, judges want to see that you guys have a plan in place. You've kind of thought this through. How are you going to make money? Different things like that. They want to see that you have passion in what you're doing. They want to make sure that you guys are committed to this venture. If you have a team in place, again, with round 1, sometimes it's just that one person, but they want to see that progress as they go through the competition. And what are your next steps? What are the next milestones you want to hit? And do you know how to get to those said milestones? So what happens next? Some of our students are aware of our pre-accelerator program. This is a 6-week evening boot camp that happens in the fall. The deadline for that, so if you are a Notre Dame student interested in the pre-accelerator, that deadline is on September 25th. So that is coming up. So if you've been thinking about it, time to apply is now. And then those decisions will be made on, it looks like my date didn't save, but those will be at the beginning of October. Around October 4th is when those decisions will be made, and you guys will be notified if you were accepted or not. With round 1, judging will take place again at the beginning of November, and then you guys will be notified the week of the 20th. So just looking ahead, if you guys do get the announcement that you have made it to round 2, your deadline to apply for a mentor is going to be in early December. Those matches are typically made after the new year, so you'll be able to get in touch with your mentor around end of January, early February. Gives you enough time to kind of consult with them before submitting that round 2 application. If you are a community or alumni looking for your student, our McCloskey matchmaking event will be on December 5th. So these ventures will have the opportunity to give us a 60-second pitch. Who are you? What is your venture? And what kind of help are you looking for? And we'll kind of do some speed dating to see what the best matches for you are. And hopefully we can make those connections that way early enough so that when you guys are working on round 2, those students can get involved. Round 1 deadline will be February 6th. And then again, those semifinal and final days, just to mark them on your calendar, is April 25th and April 26th. So we've kind of gone over this, but some special announcements for alumni and community teams. If you are on the call, this is your cue to listen up. We've talked about this extensively, but you must have a current Notre Dame student on your team in order to compete past round 2. So you are more than welcome to apply to round 1 without your student, but we'll make sure that those matches are made before that round 2 deadline. They should play an impactful role with the company. So especially looking at those round 2 videos, they should be able to explain a good chunk of that video, something that they've worked on. We've seen teams in the past kind of do have their student focus on those 3-year projections, their ask and use of funds, marketing, different things like that. So we kind of want to see them in action there. And yes, must be seen and heard. So that way we know that your student was participating. And again, they must be there for your semifinals and finals pitch. If we have any high schoolers on the call, McCloskey is also open to you guys as well. So we do have you guys fill out the same pitch deck and video submission for round 1. And then if you guys are accepted into round 2, we also have you guys fill out the round 2 slide deck and video presentation as well. Because you guys are high school students, we do not require you guys to have a current Notre Dame student on your team. You guys are the exception to that rule. And the high school track looks a little different. So whereas community high school or community alumni and student ventures will need to go through the entire process, the high school track stops after round 2. There's no acceptance to semifinals at that point. But as we are looking through the round 2 judging scores, what happens with that is we will take the top high school team, the team that has the highest score at the end of the competition, and we actually invite that team to come and pitch with us at finals. They're not eligible for any of those bigger cash prizes, but it is just a fun way to kind of showcase what you've worked on, and you get a lot of feedback from the judges as well. So here are some important links. If you are a student who is on the call who doesn't necessarily have an idea but wants to get involved with McCloskey, I highly encourage you guys to sign up for Student Connections. Student Connections is how we recruit for our community and alumni teams. It's a great way to kind of let us know what your skill sets are, what you're passionate about, and what you want to develop professionally. So that way when we make these matches with different startups, we're able to cater that to you guys as well. The form to request a mentor is on there. Again, we ask that you don't request a mentor until you know that you have moved on to round 2. We will let you guys know more about that matchmaking event as it happens. And then for Notre Dame students, if you are currently working with us and want to go into the pipeline, we encourage all McCloskey participants to submit to the pipeline. So that link is there as well. You'll be able to get matched with a startup coach who will kind of help you through that process of creating the pitch deck and those traction and milestones with there as well. All right, so I will open it up to any questions. I know we have a few in the chat, so let me address those first. All right. Are these slides going to be shared? I missed the beginning of the presentation. Yes. Once we have concluded, a recording of this will be up on our website, and I will also be sure to share the slides with you early tomorrow morning, so that way you have these in hand. Clarification. Oops. Is it the same presentation on the 25th and the 26th if you are in the top 5? Yes. So you will have one deck for your semifinals. This can include appendices in there as well. But we ask that your semifinal deck is the same one that's going to be presented at the finals as well. All right, Nell, it looks like you asked about the pre-accelerator deadline. Yeah, so their deadline is going to be on September 25th. I would be happy to connect with you offline, kind of more on what that looks like. For Notre Dame students, do you mean undergrad? Any current Notre Dame students, so this could be undergrad, this could be a grad student that you may be working with, EMBA, MBA, a student in another grad program, as long as they are currently enrolled at Notre Dame. When can we submit our idea to the Idea Center? This is a great question. I've been getting it a lot recently. You are free to submit your idea to the Idea Center whenever. That application and that link is always open. So as soon as you have an idea and are ready to kind of get the ball rolling with it, you're free to submit that. And then we usually try to get you guys set up with a startup coach within a week or two. Will the judges look more favorably on our proposal if we participate in the pre-accelerator program? In my past experience with the competition, no. They are mainly looking at the pitch deck and the video submission. They're not necessarily looking to see if you are accepted into that pre-accelerator program or not. So the pre-accelerator does offer the ability to gain more resources, more different workshops that'll kind of help you along with that venture. But judges won't necessarily know that unless it is specified in your deck. And then yes, just reiterating, that deadline is on September 25th. So you only have less than a week if you're interested to fill that out. For the submitting your idea with the pre-accelerator. So the pre-accelerator, the submission for that is that round 1 link. So if you are ready to kind of do that pitch deck and that video submission, you are free to submit that to the platform now. And then again, they'll look at those on the 26th, and then those decisions will be made on October 4th. Pre-accelerator, again, it's a 6-week boot camp. This happens in both the fall and the spring. So if you apply and kind of miss that fall deadline, you are able to look into the spring cohort as well. And are St. Mary students eligible for that? Absolutely. So just make sure you fill that out before September 25th. We'll make sure it gets looked at, and then we'll go from there. Is McCloskey more for already established organizations, or can it be newer ideas? Great question. That is something I did not touch on, which is extremely important. So McCloskey is, it can kind of fall into both buckets, but the eligibility requirements for McCloskey, if you have participated in McCloskey already and have made it past round 2, you are able to compete only if you have made a significant change to your business model. So we've seen a product one year that was originally selling a full product and then actually went in the next year. It was selling the technology for the product, not the whole product itself. So they were eligible. Other eligibility requirements, if you are working on a venture, it should not be in business for more than 3 years. So these are kind of for those uh, newer startups and businesses. And if you are doing any funding, in order to be eligible, you must have raised or have revenue less than $500,000. So those are kind of those eligibility requirements. We do try to look into those very extensively to make sure that it is a fair game for everybody and a fair competition. So those are those eligibility requirements, extremely important. Thank you, Michelle. Can we participate in matchmaking with other ND students to be on our team if we are not living in South Bend? Yes. So we are trying to make the matchmaking process a hybrid process. So if you are a startup looking for a student and not in the South Bend area, we ask that you just fill out that student connections form once you know you've made it into round 2. And we will make sure that you get matched with a student if you are not in South Bend, and kind of make those connections so that you have their email, phone number, anything to get in contact with them. What types of companies are the judges looking for? Will they frown upon companies in real estate housing industry? The answer is no. We actually had a team last year, a couple of teams actually, who were working within the real estate and housing industries. Judges are primarily looking for companies that are viable, and looking for the viability of it. Are they able to be successful in the next 5 years? Will they still be in business in the next 10 years? That is primarily what they're looking for. It's not who has the best idea, is what startup do they think is going to go the farthest and has the most viable product. Where's the link to apply for the pre-accelerator program? So it is, I'll share these slides with you guys again, but it is that submittable form. It is the same form for the pre-accelerator as well as McCloskey. So it's kind of a one fits all. So as long as you guys fill that form out with your pitch deck and video before September 25th, you guys will be eligible in the running for the pre-accelerator program. How many winning prizes are there? We have a couple that are confirmed right now. We're still working to confirm a lot of those, but I do know that we have some of our in-kind. So there's 3 opportunities to pitch to investors for funding that way. I know one of them, there's a possibility to pitch for up to $125,000. So that is a great experience. We have the McCloskey year-end prize, which is $50,000. Some of the ones we've had in the past, we have best minority-led or co-led ventures. We have best female-led, best undergrad, graduate teams and pitch decks. And then there's varying prizes within those. I believe our smallest prize at the moment is about $1,000. And a lot of those kind of range between the 5,000 to 10,000 range. So a sizable amount of money that you guys can earn from going through this process and kind of working towards your ventures. All right. It looks like that is the end of the chat questions. Does anybody else have any other questions? You can feel free to unmute now if you guys are comfortable sharing that with the group.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
As far as, so we're presenting to these investors, let's say, for instance, like the cash prize, it's definitely not enough to start up the business that we're trying to pitch. Do investors ever go, oh, you know what? You really did have a good business idea. I'll still invest, on top of whatever prize money you won in this competition.
Yep. So we do see a couple of those, especially with, the connections that you make. So, and I didn't mention this, but after the finals event, there is also a finals reception that happens right after until 6:30 p.m. That's where we see a lot of those come in. these investors, judges, people who come in for McCloskey are interested and want to talk to you more about your business. So those connections are made that way. So I have seen some teams talking to judges who say, hey, I want to help out beyond the competition. So some teams are actually still receiving help and have some of these judges actually go onto their advisory board. So yes, there is potential afterwards, especially with the exposure that your business gets throughout McCloskey to kind of network and make those connections and see where those go.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think just to piggyback off of Dustin's question, if your business is something that requires significant funding, does that put you at a disadvantage for the competition? Like, is it looked at as like, oh, well, this isn't really going to make a dent in finished product and allow the business to make meaningful funds, so, we're not particularly interested or engaged?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not necessarily. Again, the judges are more looking for what product is going to be the most successful and the most viable. So they're trying to see if you require, let's say, a number of $300,000 to kind of get this off the ground and through a launch. If they in your presentation see that you have hustle, you have drive, and that they're confident in your ability just based on your presentation to kind of go through and make that happen, they take that into account as well. I wouldn't necessarily say the fund of it takes X amount to get us off the ground is a setback for those teams. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. If there are any other questions, you can feel free to stay on and ask me. If you guys don't have any questions, you guys are free to enjoy the rest of your night. Again, just thank you guys so much for attending and learning more about this competition. And we really look forward to hopefully seeing some of your submissions come in soon. All right. Anybody still around that has any questions for me?
I don't know if now is a good time to just connect about pre-accelerator, or if you want to do that offline as you initially said.
Yeah, what questions do you have about, sorry, I'm going to answer this one question. You guys should be receiving this recording early tomorrow, sometime tomorrow. If not, the earliest or the latest will be Thursday morning. But it is on my to-do list to send it to you guys right away. All right, Nell, so sorry. What questions did you have?
So I had been going back and forth with Ryan, like kind of over the last 5 months even, and
Okay.
it was just really a matter of bandwidth. Like, my summer's really crazy. I probably won't get to this until September or so. But we had, kind of talked through a little bit of my idea, and he was like, oh, you would be a good fit for the pre-accelerator program, had even sent me like that initial contract to look over. And, I had started putting together a deck and was going to submit that to him, which he kind of framed it as like, this is just the start of a conversation. And so I guess like now to hear that there's a deadline, I'm just wondering like, what exactly, like, is it, so it's basically what you're saying is like submitting things for the competition a month early, but it's for pre-accelerator. And then also I had no idea that it was like a 6-week boot camp, because more when I had spoken to him, there was definitely not a 6-week anything labeled in there. It was more about like matching you up with people in the Notre Dame network who have expertise in like how to grow that idea and get it groomed for funding. So I'm just a little bit confused on the disconnect there. And I want to make sure I'm doing in a timely fashion what I need to do on my end.
Yeah, absolutely. So glad that you're connecting with Ryan. So our director of student startups is actually John Henry. So he kind of oversees those startup coaches as well as that pre-accelerator program. From my knowledge, at least, the pre-accelerator is a 6-week boot camp that typically happens in the evening. So during those 6 weeks, there's different workshops that are being put on, different opportunities to kind of like what Ryan was saying, connect with the Notre Dame community, build your team, and kind of start talking with investors. So that's kind of a 6-week process. There's additional resources that are made available to you guys. And every cohort kind of ends with this demo day. So much kind of like those semifinals with McCloskey, you guys are going up and kind of showcasing what you did over the past 6 weeks, kind of like your own little pitch deck. And then in the past, when I have kind of sat in on those and participated, the panel of judges is who you're actually pitching to. A lot of them are Idea Center staff, who kind of have that same criteria, are looking for, who's done, I don't want to say like the most work, but who's really excelled in this program. Is the company coming along, and is it viable? And kind of from that cohort, in that demo day is where additional funding comes in. So that is what I know about the pre-accelerator program. I work closely with John, so I'm more than happy to, I should have your email, especially if you've RSVP'd and you're obviously here. So why don't I connect you with John real quick tomorrow, so he can probably explain more of that process. Again, I work with John, so that's the most I know about it. I'm not sure like what Ryan was explaining. I'm sure that's a part of the pre-accelerator, but I know there, at least in my knowledge, there's always been that deadline in place for it, and that it happens in the fall and the spring.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I would really appreciate that introduction so I can connect with them.
Perfect. Yep, I'll send you that and connect you guys first thing tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great night. Brent, elaborate me on what you mean by required timeline.
Sorry, I was on mute.
No, you're fine.
No, I'm seeing that it's 6 weeks, the pre-accelerator. But I was kind of wondering, is it like a daily thing where you have to meet with John or the team, or is it once a week virtually, or like how does it really go?
So my knowledge of it is you are working, I believe it is daily. So Monday through Friday, you're there at the Idea Center. But when I connect Nell with John Henry, I will actually add you to that conversation as well, because he kind of heads that, so he knows more of what that time commitment looks like and how many times each week they meet.
Okay.
So I'll do that first thing tomorrow morning to make sure that you get some clarification on that.
That would be great. So I'm actually not an undergrad student, but I'm in grad school. And so that's why I was asking, because I'm not necessarily on campus every day.
Gotcha.
So I just think it would be kind of important to know what the requirements are to even participate or consider being involved in that.
Gotcha. Yep. I don't know the full details on that. So yes, I will connect you with John Henry tomorrow morning to make sure that those are answered for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This is great.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for attending.
All right, we've got a couple of weeks to get our stuff together, but I'm in.
Yep, absolutely.